anger, bicycling, cigars, bananas, AMO, how to inhale, all this and more in this remarkable episode of the podcast. And stick to the end for special bonus content.
The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat for life.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of the Remarkable People Podcast, the Bo Bissett story. This week, you're going to hear about how Bo, from a young child, had a brother and immediately felt animosity and jealousy. Then you're going to see the impact that a divorce had on him and how he had no idea consciously of what was going on. But the combination of so many things in his young life led him to rebellion, alcoholism, and drug use. Then when he gets into college, his career, and then all the way through a couple years ago, how this all played out and just destroyed his life from self-sabotage because he didn't feel self-worth. So this is going to be an entertaining episode. You're going to get to hear Bo's story. We're going to go through it chronologically. But remember, stick through the whole thing because there's hidden gold nuggets all along the way. And hopefully all of us can connect with something, apply it to our lives, and grow and become better people from it. So Bo's story is a remarkable journey. He's going to talk about how he even stumbled on greatness in cycling to help him come out of the funk. And then he talks about how he found AMO, and you're going to learn what that is. And you're going to learn some of the techniques and things Bo used to not only heal himself, but how he's helping others now heal as well. So I'm David Pasqualone. I'm so thankful you're here. This is the Bo Bissett story, and I hope you love it. And you not only listen to this great episode, but like our slogan says, you do it. You repeat the good things each day so you can have a great life in this world and an eternity to come. So at this time, let's hang out with our friend, Bo Bissett. Hey, brother, how are you today, Bo?
I'm great. How are you doing, Dave?
Man, I'm fantastic.
I love to hear it.
Yeah, we were just telling our listeners just a little bit about you and your remarkable story. So at this time, we're just going to jump in and we're going to go chronologically through your life from where was Bo born, what was your upbringing like, and then just work step by step through whatever you feel like sharing that's relevant to who God made you the man today. And then we're going to transition to the end. Where's Bo going? So now that you helped us, how can we help you? Sound good?
Right. Yeah, it sounds great, man. And first of all, before we get started, I just want to thank you for sharing your platform with me. I'm very, very grateful. So thanks, Dave.
Oh man, no problem. Our community is fantastic. So if you're listening, you know how it works. There'll be links to everything Bo and I talk about in the show notes, but reach out to Bo, connect with him. And at the end, we'll give you all of his contact information. And then more than anything, don't just listen to what Bo tells you today, but do the good stuff, repeat it each day so you can have a great life in this world and more importantly, in eternity to come. So Bo, at this time, brother, let's hear your story.
Let's see. Well, I grew up in a small town in North Carolina on the coast, a little town called New Bern. It was the first capital of North Carolina before they moved it to Raleigh. But yeah, I grew up as a upper middle class white kid in a small town in North Carolina, right? I mean, mom and dad were normal people. My dad was a finance guy. My mom was what do you call it? A house mom or housewife or what do you want to call it? And yeah, I thought I was pretty normal. I don't know. I'm definitely look back at myself now. I'm like, well, I'm not normal. Well, who is, right?
That's right, man. Normal is, there's a standard of, basic fundamental humanity. But
yeah, exactly.
That is just custom God made.
Exactly. No, I so agree. But yeah, I mean, I just, I grew up a normal kid, and my parents, I think the big thing, I had a lot of anger when I was a kid. And I realized after doing the work, learning the work that I do now, that and uncovering the emotional trauma that I programmed, or that my subconscious programmed, that I had a problem when my brother was born. So I was the firstborn, he was the secondborn, and I felt like he stole my thunder, right? Or not stole my thunder, but basically he stole the attention away from me, right? And after that, I started feeling worthless, like I wasn't enough, and like I was always trying to please my parents, and that was yeah, that set up a lot of feelings of being worthless and not being enough, and which later translated into some of the other stuff that I did. But around 12, my parents divorced, and that again, I've learned that when my parents divorced, they sat my brother and I down in the house in their bedroom, and they told us, your mom and I love each other, but I was like, oh shit, what's going on now? So then they told us they were getting divorced. I stood up, ran out of the room, out of the house, and into the woods, and stayed there the rest of the day, right? And that set off my pattern of running.
Now,
So it was
when
just, yeah, go ahead.
oh, no, I'm sorry. We stop along the way during the podcast. That
Hmm.
way we try to unpack as much as we can because
Yeah,
myself and
yeah,
the listeners, it helps us connect and understand
yeah,
each
of
other more.
course.
So up until that point where your parents called you in the bedroom, did they argue in front of you? Was it a pretty
Nah, it was
seemingly
normal.
fun?
It was like, well, that wasn't normal, but they were cordial with each other, but they never showed any love. Like I never saw my parents kiss or maybe hug, but I don't even remember that. So it was very, yeah, they were not a very loving parents. But I just thought it was normal, right? I thought it was just
Yeah, at that
no big,
point, that was your only frame of reference. So that was what you
yeah.
thought the model of
Hmm.
normal was.
Yeah, and I was like, and even I mean today and looking back, like I don't have anything to blame my parents on. They were doing the best they could, and so I think yeah, but that was my reaction. My reaction to their, them telling us that they were getting divorced. I ran out, and that was my pattern. That was my reaction that set up instances further on in life that would recreate. When I felt anxious, when I felt angry, when I felt uncomfortable, I would just run. And most people, run from a job, or like I got to the point where I was running country. I was leaving countries and moving to other countries.
We'll get there. Just keep telling your story. You're 12
Yeah.
years old and you run out in the woods and keep
Yeah,
going
run
for
out.
us.
I came back. Yeah, I came back that night because I'm 12, and like I didn't like I'm 12 and I don't know where else am I supposed to go, right? So I got hungry and I went home, and then yeah, I just dealt with it. In my teens, I really got into drugs and alcohol, really heavy. I got in trouble when I was a teenager. Got into some legal trouble, and then yeah, when I was 19, my first year in university, I wrecked my car. I was thankfully I was the only person in the car, but I was drunk driving, and I was going 100 miles an hour, ran off the road, flipped the car, crashed through a telephone pole, and on the way to the hospital, I had a near-death experience when my dead grandfather, showed up and told me it wasn't my time, that I needed to go back. 2 years later, I did the same thing. I was drunk. I was skateboarding home after a fraternity party. Got hit by a car. Almost lost my right leg. And then let's see. I graduated. Finally got out of school with with most of my body, pieced together.
Yeah.
and and then yeah, and then I fell in love with I reignited my love affair with cocaine. And at that point, I was like, because I was making some pretty good money, and I was like, all right, twice I've put my parents through, like, more than twice, two really big times with both those accidents. I put them through me and my drinking issues, and I was like, dude, like now I'm all coked up, and like I can't tell them, man, I cannot tell them. So I gave everything away. I bought a one-way ticket to Europe, and on the way to the airport, gave my brother the keys, and I was like, "This is your car, man. Do whatever you want with it. I'm out of here." And yeah, I just took off.
So when you were a teenager, you
Hmm.
said you were angry and you started medicating with drugs and alcohol.
Hmm.
Is that when you started experimenting with cocaine too, or was that when you got
No,
older?
no, no, no. That wasn't until no. That was like cocaine wasn't until university.
Okay.
So
And then when you
uh,
were messing around with drugs and rebellion and as a teenager, did you realize at that point, what were you thinking you were doing and why? Like, what was your thought process? Do you remember back then?
it was just I know now that I was just trying to, like, I was self-sabotaging. Like, I was punishing myself, right? I didn't think I was good enough. So I was using alcohol. I was using everything I could get my hands on to punish myself, to just to hurt myself. And I think at that age, I don't know really how I felt about it. I do remember being real, what's the word I'm looking for? Not rebellious, but not rebellious, like kind of like screw you, I guess, is the best way. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but yeah, it's basically like, the finger to the world, like, screw everybody. I don't care. I'll do whatever I want.
So
So
now, did your parents or friends try to intervene, or were they like, that's just
yeah,
tough?
my parents, yeah, both my parents did. And like, I was always like, I mean, I was always in trouble. They were always trying to ground me, but it never worked. I would sneak out, and but I did get in some legal trouble, and I was in probation for 2 years, so I couldn't. There's and my junior and senior year, like I couldn't participate in a lot of the stuff that my friends were doing, and I was just like, yeah, it was a pretty bad. But I mean, I never went to prison, so that was good. But
Yeah.
it
Now, when
was,
this was going on, though, and you see it escalating, were there any signs to you back then, like, man, I need to get some help, or was it just fuck the world? And
yeah, pretty much, yeah. Screw the world. That's basically what it was like. I didn't care. And now no, I'm looking at, the people that I knew, that were along the same path, or, you see people in the news and, well, why is that person doing this and that? It's just, man, it's just our emotional stuff that we're hanging on to, right? And it's like, a lot of us are moving and, are operating in on a system that we've programmed ourselves, that is like this making us do these behaviors, right? And a lot of us are, unconscious, right? So it's like, the person that drinks himself, stupid every night, do they really want to be doing that? No. But it's a tool they use to self-sabotage, to punish themselves, to, escape, you know. So, or the same with food, right? A lot of people, there's a lot of people with food addictions, the same thing, right? It's not, they don't, they don't gain 100 pounds because they want to be, fat and, overweight and unhealthy. They're just using that as a way to escape, a way to punish themselves. So,
so now,
when
did
you
you,
go ahead.
you don't have to go into details, you can, but when you got
Uh-huh.
arrested and you got in trouble,
Hmm.
was there a point where you thought to yourself, like, man, I'm out of control? Or was it, man, these people, it's their fault? What kind of attitude? Were you more on a moment of realization or more of the narcissist?
No, I did have some moments of realization, but I was still like, I kind of felt like, as far as like, the stuff that I did, like I'd stolen some stuff as a teenager. And so that was, I mean, I realized like, oh man, that was so stupid. But as far as like people telling me what I can do, like I hated that, right? I hated the, oh, you have to take drug tests, and you have to, you're not allowed to have alcohol in your system or anything. I mean, I was a teenager anyway, so I mean, you're not supposed to be drinking, in America, below 21 anyway. But, but the thing is, like, my friends were doing that, and I was being told that I couldn't, and I'm like, yeah, that really, I hated that.
So then you go to university
Hmm.
and you get, like you said, you're making some good money, you're in university, you end up
No, after university, I was started making good money because I graduated. But in university, no, I was my dad was sorting me out in university, and I was the typical, well, not typical. I was a college kid, and I was I joined a fraternity. I was, I did have a job. I had a few different jobs in university, but yeah, I was just, it was like minimum wage stuff, right? Just in, part-time hours here and there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was partying like just a monster, man. And the way that I drank, like I blacked out pretty much every time I drank.
Now, what did you major in college?
I finally ended up majoring in communications. So that was I found out that was the easiest degree you could get. So I tried business. Math wasn't my forte, so yeah, I chose. I finally, dad was like, "Dude, just like pick something, man," because I went from like psychology to business to hotel restaurant management. I think I changed majors like 4 or 5 times, and he's like, it does not matter. He's like, if you're not going, like, if you don't know your path right now, just get a degree and get out. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's good advice. I mean, one of the top skills at college is just finishing what you start. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
it really is. It's unless you're going to be like specifically an engineer
Mm-hmm.
or something in the medical
Mm-hmm.
field, all the other. I mean, you can go to YouTube these days and learn it. Right now, college is to how can I find information and how can I
Exactly.
finish what I start?
Yeah,
And
I think there will be a time in the future where I don't know colleges per se will be like obsolete, but like I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, we can learn pretty much most of the stuff that a lot of the stuff that I've learned, in healing and taking care of myself has like been, online or through books, right? Not in a university, any other institution. So yeah, I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
I
I don't want to
go ahead.
lose, I don't want to piss people off, but from what I've seen
Yeah.
in 45 years of life, you got like government is the least efficient, and then
Uh-huh.
the educational system is next.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
what's sad is we're spending obscene amounts of money to
Mm-hmm.
go to colleges and universities around the world, and
Mm,
most of them are just pumping out liberal,
mm-hmm.
mindless people who
Mm-hmm.
really just party, stick to an agenda, and
Mm-hmm.
walk out with no skills. Now, there's some
I agree.
hardworking people. They
Mhm,
learn.
yeah.
There's some great teachers and professors. I taught at a college for 3 years, so I'm not
Mhm.
against formal education. I'm just saying
Yeah, yeah.
most programs as a whole, it seems, are really a waste of time
Nah, I
because
completely agree with you. Yeah. I mean, if you got the mindset that like, you're gonna make it, you're gonna do it. Like, if you're a self-starter, like I think like colleges would be a waste of time for you. Like you can do it on your own today, like easier than any other time in history. So
so
anyway.
go back to the cocaine because there's a difference between partying and jumping up to that level.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first time doing coke? Like, was that at a party? Did a girl kind of coax you into it? Like, how did you
Nah,
grow up?
it was just friends, like, fraternity and, the whole party, like the party culture that I was in. I mean, fraternity life was, for me, like when I found the fraternity, it was like Animal House, it was just like,
Mhm.
it was the friends, but then it was also like, just the camaraderie and like, yeah, the partying. It was amazing. Like, and the guys, the fraternity I was in were big, they were big into sports too. So it was sports and party and girls, and it was just like, yeah, it was awesome.
So that seemed
And
back then like it was great, but where did that bring you in life?
yeah, I have some, honestly, you know, if I had, if I had used the fraternity as if I had used as well as I could have used it, then the friends that I made and like the connections that I could have established, because the fraternity itself is an organization, right? And there's a president, there's a vice president, I mean, I was a social chair for a while, and so if you get inside of that organization, then you can learn skills inside of that organization that transfer later on in life, right? But a lot of people squander, and I squandered that opportunity to use it to as what it was there for. And I saw more of the surface level, like partying and, all the great things that go along with that.
And then when you got out of college now,
Hmm.
you're in alcohol, drugs, you're medicating your pain, you're still
Hmm.
not realizing you have serious issues you need to face.
Hmm.
So what does that job look like right out of college? And were you able to maintain it? Were you functional? Was it a
Yeah, I was
disaster?
definitely functional. Yeah, I mean, I always been a hard worker. Like if when I start something, like I'm in it. I might be hungover the next day, but like I'm busting my ass to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so yeah, I got a job as a financial advisor, despite having graduated communications degree. My dad told me, like, because that's what he started out, and I was like, I kind of like, I'm kind of gravitating towards the stock market and stuff like that, but like, I don't know what to do there. He was like, it's sales. He's like, learn if you can sell. If you can sell something, you can sell. That's what it's all about. So I got into, yeah, that's the direction I headed. But I started out like, when I got into it, I was like pushing mutual funds, and like this is like right when the bubble crashed. And then all these mutual funds were loaded, like they were supposed to be balanced, but they were loaded in tech stuff, and people were losing their ass. And I was like, dude, this sucks, man. Like that's like, I don't want to be a salesman. So I really started studying trading, and I actually really started trading. And
And
yeah,
just
that's when I
find
started
talk to the
making some
audience
money.
talk to the audience the difference between a financial advisor and a trader. Because there's a big difference, but most people
Mm.
don't understand.
Yeah, like for me, like I mean, things have changed. This was like 20 years ago, right? And I think it's a lot of like uh, financial advisors do a lot of hand holding, right? So it's basically like, they help you set up a plan and help you invest money, and like, but they're not like, they're not looking over your account every day and like, oh, I need to rebalance such and such. Nah, man, that's BS. I mean, most of them are glorified salespeople. That's it, right?
And they push what their organization tells them to.
Yeah, pretty much, right? I mean, Merrill Lynch has got their stuff, like Edward Jones has got their stuff, like everybody's got their stuff. So, I mean, if you're somewhat proficient with, budgeting your money and like putting some money away, like you're much better off. Like if you don't know anything about, stocks, just the best way to do it is like get in with like Fidelity or one of these like Vanguard, one of these no load mutual funds, and like things have evolved. I know there's like exchange traded funds and stuff like that now. So,
Yeah, but
but
okay,
yeah,
go back to your I didn't mean to derail
that's the
you.
best way to start it.
Yeah, I just
But
wanted people to understand the difference between a financial advisor and then
mhm.
a trader, and define quickly what a trader is, and we'll go back to your story so people
I
know.
mean, somebody who's trading is actually like actively trading your account, right? I mean, they are looking at the market. They're sitting on positions. They've got stop orders on, the stuff they buy, in case like, the stock dips and they can get out. This active, right? Your stuff is being managed. And so that's the direction that I started getting into. And then, but yeah, like I started making some money, and I was also balancing like I was also balancing that with I was also selling some insurance and stuff like that to, know as to be like the whole financial, advisor for people. And so, some different insurances pay a shitload of money. So yeah, that was giving me like cushion to trade on my own, and then I was trading other people's money. So, but yeah, just I started getting successful, and then yeah, I found cocaine again, and man, I was blowing my nose every night. It was pretty ridiculous. And yeah, I
And in
got to the
that
point I just
industry,
couldn't.
I'm
And
sorry,
well,
in
I
that
mean, I was alone, right? I mean, my dad had an office. He was a Yeah, because I moved back to the small town. I started in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then I wasn't digging it, and I was like, Dad, I miss, like I want to be home, man, where near the beach. And so he's like, yeah, he's like, I started this business in hopes that you or your brother would come and work with me. He's like, come on. So yeah, I moved in and I was working with him, and then I got a place at the beach, and then I started working more out of the beach than I was in the office. And then I got to the point where I was just working out of the beach, and then I was just, yeah, with nobody to kind of check in with or be accountable to. I mean, other than the clients, I was a wreck, man. I just really started getting into, I was just doing cocaine and drinking whiskey every night. And it was just, and more, like I was at the point where I was doing cocaine in the morning to like help me get going from, drinking so much whiskey at night and then the cocaine from the night before. It was just a vicious cycle. And I just caught myself and I was like, dude, I, I finally realized like I was pushing myself to the brink. And I was like, I'm gonna die if I keep it up like this.
And
And
was it accepted in that industry? Because that's a typically high income, high
yeah, I
speed,
guess like I
and
mean, none of the people that I like that I knew did it because I mean, most of the people that I mean, because I wasn't as when I got back into it. I mean, this was all I was bringing my experiences into where I was, right. But a lot of the people, like my dad, like the two other people that worked in his office, were like almost over 60. So that's a bunch of old dudes, right? So accepted, no. But I mean, I guess like if you're on Wall Street, up in New York, and you're actually on the floor, like I've heard stories of those traders like on the floor, just like getting smashed up pretty much all day long, just to keep that to keep that level of intensity that they need to keep. So
all
for
right.
me, it was just something I enjoyed, and I way overindulged. Not enjoyed. It was just one of those ways to numb myself, right?
Yeah. So now you're out of college, you're trading, you're working back with your father and his
Hmm.
team. And where does life go from there, Bo?
That's yeah, man. I got so deep, and I basically like I couldn't face the hole. I couldn't get out of the hole. I couldn't see a way out of the hole that I dug for myself. And that's where, yeah, I literally gave everything away. Like I said, I gave the keys to my car to my brother on the way to the airport, and I was like, "It's yours. I'm out, man." And everybody was like, "What's going on? What are you doing?" I was like, I'm just leaving." My dad's like, "Well, what are you like? Are you coming back? Like, what are you like? What's going on?" And then I just ran away, man.
And where did you go to and what was that part of your journey like?
I started in London. I had a friend there, and he was like, he had been in the military, but he was out and he was working with private with a like a public company in London, some kind of defense company. And he told me, he's like, yeah, if you want to keep traveling, man, like, I know people that teach English, and so I looked into it, and there was a program to teach English to foreigners in the Czech Republic. So I took that. I bought a ticket to the Czech Republic, took that course, made some friends there. Ended up moving to Taiwan, and that's where, yeah, I went from a six-figure job to teaching Asian kids to speak English for like $12 an hour. So,
And then how was your life at that point? Were you happier or still sad? Where were you
nah,
at
I was
emotionally?
miserable, man. I was just like, it was good when I was traveling. I was doing all the stuff like in Prague. Prague was insane. I had a really good time traveling around in London. We did some road trips into Germany. When I got to Taiwan, it seemed like everything was going good. When we first got to Taiwan, I came with a friend who I'd met in that course, and he said I helped him get to Taiwan. To here. I'm actually in Taiwan right now, and the first day we got there, we came to the city, and I was like, "Oh hell no, man, I'm out." He's like, "Dude, you can't leave me. Like, I got no money." I was like, "Dude, I'll sort you out, man, but I'm leaving." He was like, "No, what? Like, why? Like, dude," I was like, "You realize we just left Prague, right? It's like it's pretty much it's like a fairy tale. Like there's castles, there's a river running through the city. I mean, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous, right? And then we get to like a city in Taiwan. It was in the middle of the country, and it was just a bunch of buildings. Like I was expecting like tropical country, palm trees, and it was like boom, we got stuck in the middle of the city. I was like, nah, sorry. But the funny thing is, like, he left like a year later, and I ended up staying for a few more years before I left. And I left Taiwan after a few years and and started moving around again. But
And did you teach the whole time you were in Taiwan?
yeah, yeah. Well, I started teaching, and then I met this guy who wanted to build a paragliding school up in the mountain. And so he was like, "Yeah, we can build this. We can do like a cafe and like you know, do this English teaching cafe." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in with that." And so I helped him like fund the whole project, and then that went belly up. But it was that that got me out of the city and into like an environment where I started riding a bicycle pretty often, which ended up helping me get out of some of my stuff. The bicycle was very therapeutic. Ended up cycling around Taiwan, cycled through Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. Later on in my life, I cycled across America. So yeah, I like that was where I fell in love with bicycling.
Nice. Now, was that an intentional thing or it just by
Nah, it just
doing something?
happened. Like a friend, yeah. One of the guys in the town that we moved to had a bike, and he's like, "Hey, you want this bike?" I'm like, "I had not really." He's like, "Well, I kind of need some money to go to." I was like, "Yeah, all right, man. Here's some money. I'll buy the bike from you." And I just put it in the basement. And then after a few months, like another friend was like, "Hey, we're going on a bike ride." I was like, "Hey, I got a bike." I was like, "Yeah, I'll go with you." And then that was pretty much it. That's what started it.
Nice. So now you're going through a lot of life. You're kind of hiding and running, and
Mm,
you're still working and you're still functional.
hmm.
But what was your average day? Did you feel angry? Did you feel lonely? Did you feel happy? What were you feeling those years?
I was jittery until I had a drink, and then after that, I was great.
So you were
So,
a full-blown alcoholic at this point.
oh hell, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I was, yeah. If I didn't have a drink, I was shaking.
All
So
right. And then
yeah.
you start traveling on your bike. And then how
Hmm.
did you get back to the States? Did you leave Taiwan for good or did you just take a vacation? How did that
No,
work?
I left. I left. Well, things didn't work out the way that I wanted to in Taiwan, so I left Taiwan. I moved to Mexico. I took what I did. I learned how to. I became a scuba dive instructor in Mexico. Then I left there. I was gonna go, and then I went back to Taiwan to teach scuba diving. But then, like, there was no that industry is the tourism industry in Taiwan is not like it is in Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. Taiwan's like a really small island. It's kind of like a yeah. It doesn't have that tourism infrastructure. So
No, when I
anyway,
think of Taiwan, the first thing I think of is the stickers made in Taiwan. So
mm,
are they big in manufacturing?
yeah, they are. They make a lot of stuff that we use back home. In fact, I don't know if you've heard recently, like the whole thing that's going on with China, like China trying to reclaim Taiwan.
Hmm.
Um, but the only thing that's like apparently, I'm I'm not very good at keeping up with the news, which is not very smart because they are knocking at the door right now. I mean, China is, but really the biggest thing that's keeping them at bay is that Taiwan houses the largest producer of semiconductors for phones and
Hmm.
whatever uses semiconductors, and they supply the world with those semiconductors. So basically, yeah. So there are a lot of other countries that are have kind of have Taiwan's back right now, because of that thing, which is a shame, right? Because you look at like what happened with Ukraine and Russia, right? So it's like basically like, all right, so Ukraine doesn't have anything to offer the world, so basically nobody wants to back them up, right? But because people's mobile phones are you know in 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 jeopardy, or their next mobile phone's in jeopardy, then like people got Taiwan back, right? It's kind of messed up.
Yeah. So the world, there's an old mafia saying, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see.
Yeah, right.
And we're living way past those borders. You can't believe
Yeah.
anything that comes across the propaganda of TV.
Uh,
It's sad. It's very sad.
it is,
Uh,
man.
so let's get back to Bo's story. Not because I'm people say
Yeah,
don't talk
sorry.
about listen, people say don't talk about politics and religion, and really
Right.
religion and politics are the most important things for our lives. And then
Mhm.
you have, anything you say can will be used against you every day. We just got banned on social media platforms for stating our opinion. We
Right.
fought it, we appealed it, and thank God we won. God changed
Yeah.
their hearts.
Yeah.
But it's such a cancel culture, and it's such, BS. Like, somebody's your enemy one day, and the next day they're little angels that go to church on Sunday and sing hymns, and it's like you're such a piece of crap. And in the United
I
States,
know, right?
we got the worst administration of all time in the history of the United States, and it's like, come on, let's stop lying to each other. You have
Yeah.
control. It's complete corruption. Move on. Taiwan, they want
Mm.
semiconductors. China wants them. More power.
Yeah.
The rest of the
Yeah.
world says, no, don't give them to China. Stop them.
Yeah.
It's all about
Right.
money, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
let's get back to Bo. We don't need to solve the world problems today. Let's just help
All
each other
right.
one story at a time.
All
So
right.
for our listeners now, you're traveling, you're doing this, you're still not happy, but you start getting involved in cycling. So where does this journey bring you, Bo?
Actually, I mean, it took me. I ended up in Vietnam after a few more stops, and I was working on an app with a couple of guys, and I was working for this. I got a job working for this guy, and his thing was like I was doing content. I was writing content, and the guys that I was doing this app with were also part of the like web development group, and so they brought me on board to help out with some of their the content for some of their projects. And so one of their clients they got was this guy who apparently sold his deal was selling containers, shipping containers to people to invest in, right? So his thing was like, the shipping companies do not, they don't own the shipping containers. And like, we own the shipping containers and we lease them to the shipping companies, right? And so I was like, wow, that's a pretty interesting business. So I was writing content for this guy's website, for his blog and everything like that. And we found out like maybe three to 4 or 5 months into the whole thing that the dude it was a Ponzi scheme. Like the dude was, it was like, the shipping containers do own the shipping containers. This guy was just like basically robbing people blind. And so
Wow.
it was crazy. So I had to walk away from that. I lost the two guys that I was partnering with, like there was a huge blow up that fell out. The girl that I was dating, like it was an amazing girl that fell apart. Like I was drinking myself stupid. At that point, I started sniffing heroin. I was like passing out in the streets drunk in Vietnam, and like I called my brother. I was like, dude, I don't know where I don't know which way's up. Like I can't seem to get things right. I don't know what's wrong with me. And he was like, "Come back, we'll sort you out, and we'll help you get on your feet." And let's see. So went back, and as soon as I got back, and like I was like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" Like I've just I was in Vietnam. I was in a good I had things, and I just threw everything away. And so I was like, "How am I get myself out of this?" And I was like, "Well, I'll start a website." And I'll ride my bicycle across the states and like because I like writing, so I'll just write about my experience and then I'll parlay into like being a travel writer. So that was my thing, right? And I was like, all right, I'll do that. So I got like a crappy bike and I rode across the country with a website, and I exchanged reviews on my site for meals and for like places that I stayed in. Most of the time I slept in a hammock on the side of the road. But yeah, I got to the end of I got to the West Coast. I made it. Nothing materialized, and my aunt and uncle were like, come on, we'll help you get on your feet. And so I was staying with them, and I was still doing content. I was writing content for people, and my aunt and uncle came in one day from the doctor. My aunt told me that they had breast cancer. In that case, at that point, I was drinking about an 18 pack a day, and I was drinking whiskey at night to go to bed. So I just totally knocked myself out. And after my aunt told me she had breast cancer, I was like, here's this person who's like busted her butt her entire life, done all the right things, and she's got breast cancer, right? And I was like, I have literally tried to kill myself multiple times and have not succeeded, and I'm still doing it to this day. I was like, dude, you have got to stop. And so I swore it off. I was like, that's it. I'm done. Done drinking, and I pretty much stopped. Like that day, cold turkey. And I started meditating. I started just like consuming everything I could get. I bought a Kindle, and I just started just sucking everything I could, get my hands on, just jamming it into my brain, trying to heal, trying to get myself, trying to learn why I was in the situation I was in, and like how to get myself out of that situation.
And did
And
someone tell you, or you just like, I just gonna do this?
no, that was it. That was like, my aunt told me, and I was just, I had that realization. Like, I think that night I just completely sauced myself. And then like next day I was like, all right, man, this is it. Like, you've reached like you are, you know, look at what is in your face. Look at where you are. You're like in your, late 30s, you're living with your aunt and uncle. Like you have nothing. You've built nothing. You have nothing to show for the last 38 years except a bunch of scars and, funny stories. You don't need any more stories, right? You don't need any more travel stories. You don't need any more, dumb shit you've done stories. Like, get it done. And so, yeah, I just sat myself down and I was like, all right, this is it, man. And I started meditating, and, that kind of pulled me through. I started reading Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza, and I started taking Mind Valley courses and just like every book that I could get my hands on, and just like, just Dale Carnegie and you name it, man. I mean, literally, I just went through hundreds and hundreds of books, self-help, business, anything I could think that would help improve my life.
And then as you're going through that, what was the transition like? Like you said, you cut off the alcohol and drugs cold turkey.
Mm-hmm.
But then where did you go as you're consuming knowledge? Where did you go professionally? Did you get a minimum wage job?
I started bartending, and I saved up money, and I was like, saved up money, and I moved back to Vietnam because I like that left a bad taste in my mouth, like leaving Vietnam. I was like, I felt like I let the place beat me down, and I was like, I'm going back to own it. And I moved to a different place, but I moved to Da Nang, Vietnam, and same thing happened. I didn't get this time. I didn't go back to drinking, but I went back, and man, I was getting sick all the time. I was getting food poisoning. I got dengue fever. Just I was almost every month I was getting like sick for like 3 4 days, and it was debilitating. And I realized that, like, looking back now, I realized that, me getting sick was another thing that I used as a kid to get myself out of going to school or to get attention, right? I remember my brother got his tonsils taken out, and I got jealous because he went to the hospital, and then, like, people were paying him attention, right? So then I would find a way to get sick. I remember rolling around, and a friend of mine got poison ivy, and he missed like a couple of days of school because he got poison ivy. I went out in the woods and rolled in poison ivy so I could get out of going to school. You know, so and then, as I moved away from the alcohol, and I started getting into weightlifting. But yeah, I was still finding ways to self-sabotage by getting sick.
Now, quickly
And
on the side before we go on,
mm-hmm,
you had sibling rivalry from the birth of your brother.
mm-hmm.
Was he competitive towards you, or he was like, "Hey, man, I'm just me and I love you"? Like, what was that dynamic like?
Yeah, my brother was real chill. I was the one that was I had that kind of aggressive. I remember when we played sport. My brother was really good at basketball. I was really good at soccer. But when we would play basketball, I was actually like kind of roughing him up and pushing him and like kind of being a dick. And but like I mean, he was better than I was, and he could just kind of outschool me, right? And I get ticked off when we played, yeah, because he did beat me. So, but yeah, my brother's pretty chill. He didn't do anything to deserve the way that I treated him.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was
yeah,
getting at. Was it bi-directional competitiveness, or was it he's just him and you just had that?
nah, I was just being a dick, man.
Yeah.
It was me being a dick. So
All right. So now you're back in Taiwan,
yeah,
and
I left Vietnam, and then I moved back. I finally moved back to Taiwan. So and
actually, I
then
do have a
that's
question.
where,
When you were in the States, you
uh-huh.
quit alcohol and drugs cold turkey, and then
Mm-hmm.
you became a bartender. That
Mm-hmm.
sounds so dangerous and
Uh,
counterproductive.
uh,
Explain that. Did you have moments of temptation, or were you solid?
no, no, I was resolved to like that was it. Like I realized that the drinking had put me in the place that I was in, and it was time for me to move on. And honestly, I did it for the money. I didn't think like I had just come from years of teaching English and scuba diving and really like not making a lot of money, right? So I mean I squandered everything I'd made in the past. So that was where my self-worth was. Like I was at the bottom, right? And I was basically working my way up. In fact, like my first job when I was with my aunt and uncle was working at what was that place called? It was some kind of like athletic store. And I was basically like stocking shelves. And then I went to Bed Bath and Beyond. I was working the night hours, the night shift, like doing the same thing, stocking shelves. And then I saved us, and that took me from one job to the next was like a few months. Then I leveled up and I got the bartending, what do you call it, certification or whatever. Then I started bartending and like making more money. And then I just started saving money like crazy. And it took me about from the time I started bartending to the time I left, like 6 months for me to save up, the money I needed. And my aunt and uncle were really helpful. I was staying with them. They had a huge house, and they were, they were on the edge of getting of retiring. My aunt had already retired, but they needed help running that place. It was basically like a little ranch. So I helped them, and I paid my dues, but we were a good family unit too. We all worked together. They helped me out. I helped them out. It was really, and that was actually a really nice experience, having them and seeing the way they interacted, because I parlayed that into the relationship that I have with my wife now. I'm now married, and I find spending time with my aunt and uncle was really nice because I got to see like a healthy relationship and how they function. Not just romantically, but like financially and everything, and how they had built this successful unit. And for me, it was like those are really really important growth period for me.
Now, you stopped drinking and drugs.
Mhm.
You moved back to Vietnam and Taiwan. You move
Mhm.
around,
Mhm.
and then you're around 40 at this point, give or
Mhm.
take a year or two.
Mhm.
And you found cycling did help with, helping you start to heal. But now you're meditating, you're reading, you're absorbing good content.
Mhm.
And then where does that real change from that still emptiness in your heart to being full and at peace?
Yeah,
Transition
it
us to
happened.
them.
It happened when I moved here. I met the woman who's now my wife. We met after I'd been here for a month,
Here being
and
Taiwan.
yeah, yeah, sorry, in Taiwan. So we met like I'd been here for a month. We met, and it was like, oh, fireworks right from the beginning. Like, and on our first date, I actually told her I was like, I'm gonna marry you. Never like thought like that kind of thought never crossed my mind before, right?
And was
But like
she
this,
a tourist? Was she a
no,
resident?
she lived in Taiwan, and she was actually married at the time. So she was going through a divorce, and that's something I didn't know about, but like we found out, but it just wasn't no problem. But yeah, I
Was
was,
she a local? Like she was
yeah,
from
yeah.
Taiwan? Okay.
Well, her parents are from Taiwan, but they moved to Brazil, and so she actually was born and grew up in Brazil, and then ended up back here like later in life.
Okay.
So
So she had more of a mixed culture between
cultural,
the
yeah,
Brazilian,
yeah,
Portuguese, and
yeah,
Taiwan.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And you have the
She was more
American.
Portuguese than she was Taiwanese.
Okay. So you meet this girl. You didn't know she
Mhm,
was married. You guys
mhm.
start dating. And then where does
Yeah,
it go from there?
it was like as good as we were in our good times. I know we were like fantastic. Like we had our battles, man. And I was going through my stuff, and like she was just like she was she. I hate to say, at the beginning, kind of rode my coattails, like because I'm healing, and she's like, ooh, this is the direction I want to go too, right? So I kind of pulled her along under my wing, and started showing her the stuff that I was doing and how I was bettering my life, and she was like, her eyes opened up. She's like, oh God, this is awesome! Like this is what I want to be doing too. And so we we did it together, and we pulled each other along, and like, but we still, man, we had some massive arguments, like, and they would just end in like me, like, I'm out, that was my thing, right? Remember, I'm the runner. So I would just like, I'm running, I'm out, and then we'd get back together, and it was just, oh, it was brutal. And about 2 years ago, we had a big argument, and it was the same thing. It was like, I'm out, like, I'm finished with this shit. And we ended up, we had a friend who's a Buddhist monk, and we got back together, but we were like, look, all right, this is it, either we get some outside help, or like we got to go our separate ways, because like all the stuff we've been doing on our own, there's still so much underlying baggage that we are not hitting, or we're not able to tap into and connect with. So like we need some help. I was like, all right, I'm cool with that. Like, I'll do whatever. And so, yeah, this our friend, this woman, she's a Buddhist monk, introduced us to this guy who does a program called the Spiral, and it was put together by an Australian guy. And the first session, boom, blew my mind. I cried for probably half a day. I mean, like, not sniffling, like damn busting. Like, I'm surprised I didn't just like shrivel up and evaporate. It was brutal, man. But I finally realized, like, I was started making connection. I was like, and as soon as I started doing this work, it was like, all the things that I had previously been blind to, the things that I had done to myself, the drinking, the running away, the way that I treated people, the things that I thought, all of those were like little bubbles that started popping in my field of awareness. And it was like once those bubbles popped, it was like, oh shit, I was doing this. Oh my God, I was saying this. Oh my God, I was thinking this. Oh my God, I was doing this. And it was like, oh Lord, oh my God. Like, and then once I started seeing that stuff, I was like, now I know what I was doing. Now I can choose, now I can make different choices, right? And that just started lifting a veil of like like the curtains coming open in a play or a stage, right? And it was like, whoa, okay, look at everything that that's possible now. And from that day forward, it just my life started just like boom, 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 just started the wheels started getting traction, and like I started just sailing.
So
And
what were some of those for our listeners that have already connected with you? What are some of the truths that you heard that just opened your eyes to the reality of what's going on and why, so you can move forward? What were some of
the
those truths?
the biggest thing for me that I realized was that I did not feel worthy, right? It was I like the punishment that I'd put myself through was that I thought I was a bad person. I felt like I was a bad person. I didn't feel good enough. So I was hurting myself. I had trying to kill myself in car accidents. I had tried to kill myself with drugs and alcohol. I'd literally pushed away, some beautiful, beautiful people in my life. I had pushed away business. I had pushed away money. I had basically bankrupted myself in every area of life that you can do so, because I didn't feel worthy of those things. Right. Every time I became, a little bit successful, I would blow it. Every time I had a good relationship with a girl, I would like run away or figure out a way to just like, it's like, oh, I can't do this anymore, blah, blah, blah. And I did that in every area of my life because I didn't feel worthy. And so understanding that, and then understanding the programs that I was running, to keep myself in at the bottom of the barrel, was just like life changing, unbelievable.
So for
So,
our listeners who are stuck in this self-sabotage mode, if you
mhm,
were to give just practical steps of, hey, this is what worked for me, try this, 1, 2, 3, what would
mhm.
you recommend to them, to us?
Be curious, like get out there. Like I can tell you without a doubt, the work that I do now will change your life. Beat the addiction that I had. I can now have a beer, man. Like, and this is, this out of all the things that I've accomplished, like this is that, and the relationship that I have with my wife are like my two like gold stars that I wear. I don't show them to everybody, but I kind of wear on my sleeve. It's like, dude, I beat addiction. Like I was at a case of beer a day plus Jack Daniels at night. Like I was shaking when I wasn't drinking, and I can have a beer now when I want, if I want. You know, my wife and I this weekend we had a little argument, and we actually went out and we had a couple drinks, something we've never done before in the 5 years that we've been together. And it was just like we had this new experience together, and it was beautiful, right? And then I don't know, I might not have a beer for another couple months, but that's my choice now. I get to make that choice. That alcohol does not own me. The substance does not own me anymore. I can do it. So
So then you kind of had a mental shift where you're like, boom, no more alcohol, no more
mm,
drugs.
mm.
But for the first step for somebody listening, what would you say that is? Or does it tie back to finding that?
Yeah,
you-
you've got like for if you have an addiction that you're dealing with, then you've got to reach that point where you take control, like you put your foot down and say no, right? Then after that, you can start looking into help, right? Because you will need help. You can't, most people can't beat addiction on their own. Like I put my foot down and like I was like, that's it. Like I'm not gonna do it. I'm not putting myself in that position. And like you said, right? It's kind of strange that I started bartending, but I was like, I'll like I'm very stubborn too. So I'm like, I had no problem being in that situation and like and and saying like no, I'm not gonna do it. Right. So yeah.
So let's go back then to your story. So you go to this teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and the first experience is mind-boggling. It's just
Mm-hmm.
mind-blowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're taking it in. You cry for hours the first
Mhm,
day. Where does
mhm.
your life go from there? And what happens to your wife as well?
Yeah, well, things started changing. Like I had an instantaneous shift, and like in my and where I was, and in life, and what had put me in that position, right? And so things started getting better. For me personally, are the two things that, as I was going through the work, I was talking to the guy that's leading me through this work, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, so we're uncovering all these emotions, we're moving these emotions, and connecting with them, and like, so, if I get to the root cause of these emotions that led to my addiction, then I should be able to have a drink again, right?" And he was like, "Dude, don't." I was like, Yeah, but I really believe like this is it, right? Because one of the first books that I read when I first started this, when I st- when I started this journey was it's called The Molecules of Emotion. And it's more of a biography, but it's written by a female doctor, Dr. Candace Pert, and it's basically like what really touched me about that book was that our emotions affect us on a molecular level, right? And so
Mhm.
I didn't know at the point that I read it, like I didn't know how I was gonna make that connection, but I just knew that like that was my key. And when I found this work, and it was like, and so that's when that's when those dots connected. And I was like, no, and I was like, I told this guy, I was like, man, this is, I believe like, these emotions that I've been hating on to, that we're holding on to, that I've stored, that we're finding and now, and dealing with, like that's it. And he's like, I still wouldn't do it. Well, I did it. I waited for a few months after we finished working together, and like I had a glass of wine, and then the next weekend I had two glasses of wine. The next weekend I had like half a bottle, and I was like, I could feel it waking up in me again. And I was like, what we did was not enough. So I took what I had learned from him. I'd taken really good notes through the process. Then I used some of the other stuff that I had been through to kind of piece things together, and I started working on myself using muscle testing, self muscle testing, these meridian points on the body. Once you find these emotions, to help you release the emotions, the AMO breath. The program that I do now is called AMO Ni. AMO in Spanish means I love, Ni in Chinese means you. I use two different languages because it's a blend. It's a blend of East meets West healing modalities. So yeah, we use that, and then on the end, we use neurolinguistic programming to like grease the wheels of intention and push the person further down their healing path. And I started putting this stuff together, and yeah, I finally got to the root cause of my addiction issues. And like I said, I told you earlier, I can have a beer now. Like, my wife was dealing with food addiction, and we've fixed her as well. And we work with other people now that have food addictions and also other addictions as well. So it's yeah, it's just life changing. This work is life changing.
Yeah, man. As a friend listening to you, I mean, this whole show is about being real and transparent.
Mm.
I'm like that, gentleman you were talking to at the beginning, I'm like cringing inside, like, Bo, don't drink even casually. Just,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because it's like you might be great now, but a year from now you might be in a low and that drink does hook you. And I think about that
Mm,
Bible verse, wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not
mm,
wise. So like as a
mm.
brother and friend, I'm like, please don't drink. Don't chance it, right? But if you feel like you have that victory, that's fantastic. And I hope you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Nah,
like
no, like,
I'm the err on the side of caution guy. I'm like, huh, I might be allergic to that. I'll just never eat it again.
yeah, yeah,
That's how
yeah.
I am. But yeah, so okay, so between your birth and today, I feel like
Mm-hmm,
there's a section between where you're learning this and putting it together we missed. But in
mm-hmm.
your opinion, is there anything significant between your birth and today before we transition to where is Bo and where are you heading?
Nah, I mean, yeah, well, you and I got deep, man. Yeah, we covered a lot of the stuff, and I'm just now, yeah, I'm doing this work now, and that's my next step. So
Good, man. Now, talk about meridian points a little bit. And is there an exercise you can leave the listeners with so they can try it? And if it works for them, they can contact you for more.
yeah, for sure. These meridian points, they correspond with the different meridians on the body. So this is like a master point that we use to release the emotions, but then it's tied in with the muscle testing and like how we. Oh,
Oh, sorry. The majority of our listeners are podcast listeners. So just so
uh,
you know, Bo was
okay.
grabbing with one hand his temples on
Yeah,
his
yeah, right.
forehead.
Just right above the temples there. So that's the master release point. But then that corresponds with the muscle testing, which we use to find the emotions in the first place. So I think one thing that I can leave you with for sure is like the AMO breath, which is a breath that I developed when I was going through this work. Because as I was going through this work, like one of the big things that, like, when we connect, when we find these emotions that you programmed as a kid, these traumatic instances. And the thing is with trauma, like, most people, they hear the word trauma and they think like, oh, car wreck or PTSD from war or like, a divorce or like, a traumatic event, to a kid can be like a butterfly landing on your shoulder, and freaking you out. It can be, it can be anything. It does not have to be like some huge monumental event. In fact, the definition of trauma is just an emotional event, right? And so our subconscious is using these experiences, these emotional events, these traumas that we experience, and it's grabbing onto those reactions and it's programming them into our system, right? Our body is like kind of like the high school hallway, like your atypical high school hallway in like a movie scene, right? Which is littered with lockers. But instead of books and papers, those lockers hold our emotions. And some people hold them in our leg. Some people hold them in their hips. Some people hold the emotions in their heart, in their liver, in their throat, right? Within our different chakras. Like we store these emotions all over our bodies. And these emotions, like anger resonates at a very high frequency, like I said. Whereas a love emotion has a more flowing resonance, right? And so, when we're holding on to these emotions, those high resonance emotions, they actually, do damage to a body. They attract the injuries and the illnesses that we experience later on in life. And I'll tell you one thing before I do the AMA breath. Sorry, I got way off course there.
No, I think it's
But
good. I actually know exactly what you're talking about because, massage therapists will tell you they'll have people just break down on their table crying or get
mhm,
angry or start sweating. I mean, they're
mhm,
just getting a massage, but it's
mhm,
not just a massage. They're actually digging into this tissue and releasing because we're all
mhm.
made of energy. God made
Yep,
us. And
exactly.
when you're storing these emotions, good or bad, it's going to stay with you until you release them. And that
Mhm,
what you describe, that anxiety versus the peace, the annoying
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
frustration versus that
Mhm,
just calm wave chill. It's totally different. And the Bible talks about a merry heart doeth good like a medicine,
mhm,
but bitterness is as rawness to the bones. And it's medically proven that if you're happy, you're less sick. And there's people with cancers, they're totally gone when they just start laughing and enjoying life again. So
mhm.
what you're saying is in line with what I believe from learning over the last 45 years of my life and what I experienced firsthand. So yeah, keep going down that track. I think it's important for
Yeah,
people
man.
to
I
understand.
mean, the Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, like, every single religion, in our, existence, they all preach one, fundamental thing, right? Is love. Love heals, right? The funny thing is, like, I'm reading a book right now by Dale Carnegie, and it was recommended by I was on an email, this email that I got from somebody, and I was like, yeah, I'll check that out. It might be something to use. I can use in my practice right now, and so I'm
If you're
started reading
asking
it.
which book, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and
Yeah,
Influence People,
yeah. This one is how
keep living and stop worrying.
no, no, no. Yeah, how to stop worrying and start living, or something like that.
Yep.
And dude, this book is so. I was talking to my wife about it last night because it's so amazing. Because this book was written 80 years ago, right? And the things that he talks about that were happening in the United States 80 years ago are the exact same things that are happening today, right? And people are worrying about the exact same things. We might be driving, Teslas, and they were driving Model Ts or whatever they were driving in the 40s, right? But you know, it's the exact same things that people were worrying about. And the funny thing is, there's one of these stories when he was in New York, and there were people going around. I think it was smallpox, and they were like forcing people to get the inoculations or whatever for smallpox, right? And it was the same thing as COVID. I was reading that, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like 80 years ago, they were going through exact same thing, man.
Yeah, yeah. Dale Carnegie's books are excellent, but How to Win Friends and Influence People is the staple. I think, after the Bible and the books that really key into our inner
Uh,
soul, right, and our
uh,
eternity, probably, if not the top book on my recommendation list or one of the
uh,
top 5 is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I
And
agree.
what's crazy is he refers to God and Jesus throughout that. He actually says, I'm not a believer. My parents were.
Hmm.
However, every single thing he says ties back to the Bible's chapter and verse, and he
Hmm.
admits it always works. So it's like, I know whatever works is because of God, but that book, I try to read that once a year just to keep it fresh in my mind. But the How to Stop Worrying, Start Living, I remember, don't they have some pages too? I'm going back. I haven't read that in about 10 years. But don't they have like workbook almost like pages where he's like, make these lists, compartmentalize, plan for the worst thing you can imagine, then everything else is icing. Isn't that some of the things he talks about in that book?
Yeah, 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 it does. There are some of these lists, yeah. And then at the beginning, he's like, go back and read every chapter twice. And he's like and then at the very end, there's a bunch of stories like with person, but he uses stories throughout the whole thing, right? So,
Yeah. And you know what else,
uh,
honest, just to finish this off, have you read Link in the Unknown by Dale Carnegie?
no, uh-uh.
Oh, the
What is it?
best.
Link?
Link in the Unknown. There's probably hundreds of books written on Abraham Lincoln, but
Uh-huh,
there's like this 3-volume encyclopedia set that Abraham Lincoln's best friend wrote about him. Who
uh-huh,
has time for that though?
right.
Dale Carnegie researched Lincoln for a few years, wrote Link in the Unknown, and it is
Hmm.
a easy read, phenomenal read, but what a great book on Abraham Lincoln, seeing
Yeah, I'll
what
definitely
that
check that
man.
out, man.
Oh, you should. It's getting a copy is the hardest part, but once you get it, it talks about his journey and
Hmm.
how he even died thinking he was a failure.
Right.
And, he had a psycho wife, and it goes through things that nobody knows about. Like, it's just
Yeah.
really
He,
great book.
I, in the book that I'm reading now, he talks about like how Lincoln had to borrow money to get to his inauguration, right?
Yeah.
So I
He
was like,
got in.
what?
Yeah. I
Him
could
and
tell.
George Washington.
Yeah, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Ronald Reagan, I think, are, the 3 best presidents America's ever had. But
Right.
Abraham Lincoln is so intriguing because this dude was abused like in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
And he, you know, was depressed and he had issues. He wasn't perfect. The Civil War, just God even
Mm-hmm.
took his mistakes and used them for good. But like you said, he didn't have money, he struggled, he was
Mm-hmm.
poor. Again, the Gettysburg Address, he went to his grave being made fun of by the media of what a terrible speech that was, and it went down in the annals of history in every country as one of the greatest speeches of all time. So it just shows you, forget anybody's. The only opinions that matter are God's and yours.
Yeah,
Everybody
exactly.
else is icing. But
I
okay,
agree.
so I didn't mean to derail you, but you got me excited. I love Carnegie. I love Abraham
Nah, I
Lincoln.
love it, man. Yeah, I love it.
So you're reading this book and you were talking about the meridian points, and then you were going to
Mm-hmm.
transition into
Yeah, the AMO
breathing.
breath, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 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 the AMO breath. So the AMO in Spanish means I love. And so as I was going through this work, and I was uncovering these emotions, like when you like it's like you said with the massage table, right? Like when you hit these emotions and when you connect with them and move them, dude, they move, right? And for me, one of my biggest ones was anxiety, and it was crippling. Like I've seen people, you've seen like people on like on TV shows or movies or whatever the whole typical like was it breathe in a bag, breathe in a paper bag thing. That's how anxious I was getting as I was going through this work. And my wife, she went through a Reiki course at the same time I was doing this I was going through this work on my own. And so she would help me with, she'd put her hands on me and help me calm down with Reiki, right? But I was getting to the point where I was almost kind of relying on her to help me out. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be a burden on her because I was also feeling really, really weak and vulnerable, right? And I didn't want to, I don't want to be crawling to my wife, oh, can you help me out? I can't, I didn't want to be dealing with that. So I wanted to sort this stuff out on my own, but I didn't know how. And so as I was doing this stuff and all the stuff that I'd learned and read and started connecting, and I was I was thinking about, I remember one day I was clearing some stuff and what a loving state that I was in. And I was like, love, love, love's the answer. And then I started making sounds, and then next thing you know, this AMO breath, and I started going through it, and I was like, whoa, man, this is amazing. And I started doing it as I was doing my clearings, and I was like, whoa, man, this is really cleans me out. So AMO, like I said, in Spanish means I love, so it's literally a breath of love, and the breath is done through the way that it's spelled. So it's AMO. And so with the A in AMO, what we do is we visualize white light, loving universal light. You can imagine, the hand of God coming down and, touching your head, or, hearts from heaven flowing down, or whatever, whatever works for you, right? It's just imagine just love and compassion pouring down on the top of your head, down through your throat and into your chest. So, and that sound is, as it's coming down, the second part of the breath is the M. So, which is, that is represented with a, and that hum actually stimulates the vagus nerve, right? Which is another emotional reset in and of itself, right? So we're using the visualization of the ah, the breath coming down, then the hum, stimulate the vagus nerve, and then with the O, we imagine that breath shooting out. Like when I was a kid, I think I'm probably about 10, 15 years older than you, but we had the Care Bears, the cartoon, and these little bears would shoot out love or luck or whatever it was from their chest, right?
Yeah, they each had a symbol and a special
Yeah,
like,
okay, you know. So yeah, so that's how we do it. We imagine that light that's come down and cleansed our heart center, and then pouring out of our chest. So the breath looks like, and funny enough, the A part of it, most people, when they meditate, do the om. But I was talking with another guy on a podcast about a month ago, and he said he interviewed this guy who was saying that because of the polarity shift going on with the earth right now, the sound was more beneficial than the than the O sound. So there's that too. So anyway, yeah. So that's
yeah,
the
man,
Yama breath.
I think anything in balance again lines up. False balance, abomination of the Lord. So too far left, too far right, that's crazy. God wants balance, right? But there's something with the energy, and there's definitely something with the sounds that help you. I don't understand it, and like what you just said, that guy, you need to understand polarities and the earth and the moon. I mean, I know there's something to it, but I'm
Right.
not going to go so deep that becomes my God or my religion.
Mm.
And when it comes to this, though, I know I've experienced where I've just tried to, meditate, and meditate just means just sitting still and
Yeah, exactly.
focusing, pushing away the thoughts that
Mm.
come in your head. They're going to come in,
Mm.
but just try to push them back out. But
Yeah.
if you don't understand it, the way I understood it was the antithesis. Have you ever been in a room where the fan above the stove is on, or you're in the bathroom and it's on, and you don't like it, but you don't really pay attention to it, and then 30 minutes later somebody shuts it off and you're like, oh, you feel relief. Every
Yeah.
human's probably experienced that.
Right,
Well,
right.
that relief shows you that sound can cause you discomfort. And you have the music, you put a plant next to classical music, it grows and it leans towards a speaker. You put this plant next to rock music, it freaking dies and
Yeah,
goes the
right.
opposite direction. So
Yeah.
there's 100% something with sound and frequency
Uh-huh.
and energy. I just don't understand it all.
Yeah.
So anything else, Bo, between your birth and today, or just life tips or skills, things people can try at home before we transition to where you are and where you're heading?
Mm. No, I think that's it. I think the AMO breath, like, you said you talked about doing meditation. Like, if you do the AMO breath, rewatch this the last couple minutes and re-listen to it, do the AMO breath. Actually, there's a link on my website for the free training for the AMO breath where I talk about some more advanced techniques too. But if you do that before meditating, and if you go to my website, actually, it says a hashtag meditation takes too long. I am a big proponent of meditation. The work I do just is a lot faster. But so, yeah, if you do the AMO breath before meditation, it'll put you in a state of bliss that will blow your mind, man. It's just so, I guarantee you'll have the best meditation that you've ever had after you do the AMO breath.
Good, man. So let's do this then. We'll put links in the show notes, and then we'll make sure that if somebody's, whether they're on Apple or Spotify or on our website, they can just check the show notes and click and go. But where's Bo today? Where are you headed? What's life like as of today, right now?
Man, I'm finally enjoying life, right? I'm building a business where I'm helping people and I'm using, like, the funny thing is, like, I have basically 40 years, I'm 46 now. 40, I'd say 40 years of just heartache and pain and suffering that I can now, like, that were my coal, that were being compressed and formed this diamond that I now have to be able to help other people and show other people, the way to get through it all. And it's that is such a beautiful realization that, like, that what I went through was not in vain, right? That I can now use that and, like, help other people, and it's beautiful. And I think, like, another thing, like, just recently, I'm just constantly learning and using, and I'm so aware now of, like, my surroundings and the experiences that I'm in. I'm learning now. We got a dog about 6 months ago, and I'm learning more from this little dog about life and how to interact with, not with the others, and this little dog. It's amazing. I grew up, my dad, if the dog peed in the house, he smacked it with a newspaper, right? And yelled at the dog for, peeing in the house, right? Or if the dog was barking, same thing, take a newspaper and smack the dog. And, that's how you train the dog, right? So, like, the first couple of months that we had the dog, that's what I thought you did. And anyway, so the dog's been barking a lot, and she's been not, not behaving, I guess, the best that we would like. So we bought this course on, taking care, like, training the dog. And the dog, the thing that she's barking at, the thing that she's, that's unsettling her, it's trauma. The dog is going through the same thing that I've been through, right? And then I'm making her trauma worse by, smacking her, right? And it's just like, oh my God, how did I overlook that? And so now, the dog gets a little bit antsy, we love the dog, we give her some treats, and, like, boom, it just dissipates. And, like, it would literally, within a week, our dog is going from being, barking at everything and going crazy to, like, now, the energy that I'm bringing to the dog is of the energy of love and compassion. And the dog just runs up to me, starts barking, and just licks my face. It's amazing, man.
That's awesome, Bo. So if
Yeah.
someone wants to get a hold of you, let's do this too.
Hmm.
Who are the people that you feel you can help most? Like what does that look like, that profile, and how do they get a hold of you best?
The best way, well, yeah, the best way is a website. Like, if you're lost if you feel hopeless, if you feel like nothing you do is right, if addictions are crippling you, like there are emotions that are attached to all of that, and we can release them. We can find them and we can release them. And not only can we find them, I can teach you how to do it on your own. So you are in complete control of your life, and what, and you are your own healer, right? I think over the last, I don't know, a century probably plus of like really good marketing, we've been okay, I would not be here if it was not for like modern medicine and the pharmaceutical industry, right? But having said that, you look at the process that happens when you get sick, right? You go to the doctor, he writes you permission slip that you take to another doctor, and then you get the thing that's supposed to heal you, right? Well, like, we have that power, but we've given it to the pill, to the concoction, to the syrup, to the, shot or whatever it is, right? I mean, there are instances where, we do need modern medicine, right? But like, to run that direction every time that you need, you can heal yourself. It is possible. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I,
And I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's a place for everything. We go back to that balance.
mm,
There's a place for diet, there's a place for exercise, there's a place for herbs and, essential oils, and there's a place
yeah,
for radiation therapy. There's a
true.
place for everything. But if
Yep.
we keep in balance, we'll probably never get to that sick place.
Mm,
I've been critically ill for years on two different things, but it lasted for years. And really,
mm,
when I embraced it, accepted it, felt love and joy, and then everything turned around.
there you go,
God
man.
God helped me get that better. And I mean, I had a tumor in my head. I had an infection in my
Whoa.
tooth that was killing me and poisoning me. So I mean, I had legit medical things, and
Right, right.
thankfully I had the medical science, the doctors to help me get it right.
Mm-hmm.
However, cutting out dairy, cutting out sugar, you know, being more mindful of what I was putting in my body. That
Mm-hmm.
took surgery on the tumor, radiation therapy to tumor shrunk. And now 25 years later, I'm super healthy. Right.
Mm,
So it's like
right.
there's a balance. If I just went holistic, I would have died. If I just went
Mm.
medical, I would have died. But that balance God showed us kept us alive. So if you're out there, you heard Bo, you heard his story, you heard what he can offer. So reach out to Bo, check out the show notes, go to his website, and hopefully we all thrive together, thrive individually, and all thrive to the glory of God. So Bo, thank you so much for being on the show today, brother.
Yeah, Dave, you got another minute.
Another minute? Yeah, man.
Yeah. Look, check this out, man. So, all right, I told you about my accident, right? Like, I didn't go into a lot of the details of that first car accident, but man, I wrecked my body. Like, and one of the things, I crushed my knee, right? And so I've cycled a lot and I'm doing a lot of stuff athletically. I could never run again. And really, like the last couple of years, the pain in my knees just really got just brutal. And so what happened was recently I found the knees over toes guy. Have you seen that guy on YouTube?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So anyway, he's doing this protocol to help people with knee pain. And I was going through his work and like I like what this guy's preaching and like I'm totally dig with this. Like I've zeroed in and I'm like, I know this is like what he's teaching is working, right? He's got a lot of success stories and it just really resonated with me. But the thing is, like I got to a certain point and then I was not able to make progress. If About 2 weeks ago, my wife and I went on vacation. We did a lot of snorkeling. Dude, when I was snorkeling and I was, finning, I my knee pain, like that night was like it's diminished by half. So anyway, I came back and I started doing basically going out on the ocean and just finning for like an hour. And unbelievable, man. It is completely transforming my knee pain. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to share. Like if you if you're going through, if you've got any knee pain, like first of all, check out this knees over toes guy, and then second of all, like if you need some like a supplement for that, like finning, using scuba fins. I got these bodyboarding, what do you call them? Boogie boarding fins that I strap on my feet and just like kick, man, kick for like an hour, and it's really physically, it's probably of the things that I've done, on a physical level, this is like one of my top three to really level myself up.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because medical science and pharmaceuticals want you to think you can't be healed
Yeah.
because they want to make money.
Yeah, of
That's it.
course, right?
Drug you
Yeah,
up.
you're not, yeah, healthy, you're not, you're worth nothing to them, right?
Yeah. And it's a sad reality. You want the truth, you go to God. You want the truth on earth, you follow the money. And
Yeah.
those hospitals that they're building that are 50 stories and brand new, those aren't cheap. They're being built with our cancers and blood.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, what you're saying though, Bo, is true. We regenerate. Our body's made to regenerate. It's proven. Some
Mm-hmm.
things take 7 days, some things take 7 years, but our
Mm-hmm.
entire body will regenerate. And I think you just said it, and I agree. I know in my personal life, being a human guinea pig,
Mm-hmm.
when you're injured, the common thought is rest. And the common like daughter is going to tell you to rest. But
Mm-hmm.
I've found like, yeah, there's a rest, but again, a balance. When you
Mm-hmm.
push yourself and you exercise and you push through the pain, you always come out better. So by you
Mm-hmm.
working an hour scuba diving, by medical science standard, that should have irritated the knee and inflamed it and caused all these issues. When really you're like, damn, I haven't felt this good in years.
I
So it's
know,
like
right?
our bodies are built for challenge, to
Mm.
thrive, to be worked. So work, I had a ruptured disc, 2 ruptured discs in my back, and I was told by I think it was like 3 doctors and massage therapists and chiropractors, so probably like 8 professionals, I needed
Uh-huh.
surgery.
Right.
Never had surgery. Pushed
Nice.
through it, stretched, deep tissue massage, and ice. I found the combination that worked for me. And even though I haven't worked out since 2018 and I'm chubby and fat, don't have back issues. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah,
few
yeah.
times like I've had a spasm happen in recent years, instead of sitting there or laying down or icing or taking muscle relaxers, I don't do any of that crap. I
Mm.
force myself, even if I can't stand up straight, to get on the elliptical, and
Mm.
I move and I move and I
Right.
move, and that your body just recenters itself.
Mm.
And then you can ice it and then you can get deep tissue massage. But I am 100% with you, brother. Just
That's
move,
awesome, man.
move.
Well, this goes back to what we were saying earlier, right? About, be curious, right? If you're, if whether it's a physical thing or an emotional thing, whatever it is, like be curious about your own health and like put that in your hands. And when you do, like, that's when like, miraculous things start happening because you literally take that power back, right? And you put it in you, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you look at like when they do like these pharmaceutical trials, like the placebo is more effective than the actual drugs in like 70% of the cases, right? And why is that? Because that's where the hope is. People put their hope in that pill, right? So they believe it's going to work, right? Same thing. If you believe like what you're doing is work, it will work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man, my hope is in the Lord, and I hope as you and the listeners, we can all have that joy and that peace and that deep down just satisfaction. But man, I'm totally tracking with you. Like, if you got issues going on, search, be curious, figure out, and die on your own terms.
mhm.
Listen, if you're gonna die, do it your way. Like I've had twice when I was 18 to 20,
Mhm.
and then when I was 2007 to 2010, they told me to make out my will and get my affairs in order. So like I said, I wasn't sick for like a couple weeks. It was years.
Right. Wow.
And I got to the point where it's like, forget this. I literally did everything opposite the physicians were telling me. And that's when I started getting better. It's not, I had some really great physicians and they were
Yeah, yeah.
amazing. But for every one excellent one, there's 8 mediocre, probably 7 mediocre and 2 terrible.
Mhm.
And I mean, they were telling me, don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. So you know what I started doing? I started
Drink
drinking
coffee.
coffee. And I'm not joking, dude. Everything like that, all these things are like, do this, don't do that. I'm like, okay, fine. So I just did the opposite, and then I started getting better. So,
Oh, wow.
and have you ever tried eating? Oh, hey, since we've derailed, but the show our audience,
No, go
hopefully they're
for it, man.
listening.
Yeah, I love it.
Have
I
you
love it.
tried eating a half a banana before bed?
No, what does that do?
Dude, I stumbled upon it about a month and a half ago. I put a little YouTube video together, and basically I noticed that when I eat a half a banana before bed, I sleep deeper and more restful. So then, like, I was playing with it. So then I start Googling it. It's all over the internet. A banana is a natural, like, sedative. It's a natural relaxer, da 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 da. And you get the potassium in it. So this is something that's known. But if you go to the doctor and say I have trouble sleeping, they're like, here, take this drug, take this drug. And
Wow.
I just literally was using a banana, and I feel fantastic now. Like, I sleep
Dude, if I was
better.
in the same room with you right now, I would kiss you. I swear to God. Like I've been trying to get my sleep thing down. It's been off and on, off and on. And like actually last night I did. I woke up at like 1 o'clock, and then I couldn't. Then I woke up again at 3, and I was like, what's going on, man? And I've been battling with that. Go to
Try
the
it.
store and get
Try it.
bananas.
Try it, and we'll do a follow-up episode and put in a link in your podcast. See, how did Bo do with a banana a day for 30 days? And we'll
I
do that
love it.
episode.
Yeah.
And even like I have a tear supposedly between my bicep and my shoulder, and it was a
Hmm.
mess. The arteriogram was just like everywhere to die.
Right.
But I don't want to have surgery. I asked the doctor, I'm like, hey, if I totally tear it, is the surgery worse? Like, nope. Same surgery, you're just in pain. Like, I can live with pain. Pain's temporary. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
has been like a couple years now. I stopped working on in 2018. So it happened in like 2017. And anyways, I even noticed that the pain between my bicep and shoulder the last 6 months has been hurting in my sleep. I think I'm tensing. And
Hmm.
as I'm tensing, it's causing that to stimulate. Soon as I started doing the banana, gone. So,
Whoa.
and I'm literally I'm going to bed, eat it, half a banana, or I'll throw it with some ice cream, which is probably
Right.
not good for you. That's why I'm
Yeah,
fat.
that's all right.
But anyways, but no, man, that half a banana has been a beautiful blessing to my life. So hopefully you and the listeners can try it
No,
and
thank you
write me.
so much for passing that along, man. That is like, yeah, I've been literally something. I mean, I've done like magnesium spray. Like I've been trying to limit, what time I eat. Last thing I eat, the last thing I drink, just to make sure, I'm
Yeah.
not sleeping, not because I'm getting up to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. And it's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
routine is huge. And
Hmm.
there's so many things you can do. We could have a whole show just on tips for sleep because I
Oh,
struggle
for
with sleep
sure.
my whole life. So but the other thing too is I got to be careful how I say this because I don't want to advocate something and cause someone harm.
Right.
But a few years ago, I was in Italy and I smoked a cigar,
Uh-huh.
slept like a baby that night, but I thought it was just
Hmm.
the situation.
Right.
Then I get back to the States, and it just so happens I'm with a business colleague, and he's like, hey, you want to smoke a cigar? I'm like, I just smoked the first one I've ever smoked at 43, might as well. So I
Right.
smoke a cigar, slept like a baby. So then I'm having a moral and the intellectual dilemma.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, what? Cigars are bad. Cigars are evil, blah, 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 blah,
Right,
blah.
right.
So then I start thinking, who do I know that smokes cigars? And
Arnold
brother,
Schwarzenegger, Michael Jordan.
well, no, everybody I know that smokes cigars are the most balanced, like personally, not even just on TV. Like they're the
Right.
most balanced humans I know, very wealthy typically.
Hmm.
They're like kind, giving people, and they're healthy. The World War II, the oldest living World War II survivor just recently passed away. It's like 115 or 116, and he smoked 15 cigars on average a day. George Burns, remember the
Oh
old
yeah,
guy?
George Burns, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Smokes cigar, and you go through Stallone, Rocky. Now again, they're so rich they can buy new parts.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I start researching it. No, cigarettes, toxic.
No, yeah, yeah, of course.
227 chemicals per stick on average,
Uh,
known carcinogens, known cancer causing. That's trash. Vaping, even worse.
mm,
Vaping is leads and metals and chemicals, all stuff to make you sick and addicted. Total trash. But a cigar? It's 100% tobacco. Tobacco is like a banana. God made it. There's nothing added. So long story short, I started experimenting and researching it, and my blood test came back better. I took blood tests before and after. When I started smoking cigars, you know, I wouldn't say regularly,
Yeah.
but more common, I got healthier.
Dude,
And
this
then,
is blowing my mind.
and you don't inhale it. You
Right,
just
right, right.
breathe it out. So
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
worst thing, and I put stuff on social media and Facebook. Do you personally know somebody that smoked only cigars that got cancer or some form of disease?
Mhm.
One person wrote back and said, I had a he was a police officer. He had a police chief in New York that died. I think he was like, the average lifespan 70 to 75 worldwide. And I think he said he died at like 62. But he said, to be clear and honest, those cigars might have gave him an extra 5 because he had such a high stress job in life.
Right.
So I'm just going through. So I'm like, I'm going to try it. So God forbid I say this and someone gets mouth cancer or I get cancer. I don't want that to happen. But I'm telling you that in my life, it's had nothing but benefit to me. It relaxes me. It calms me. And then on top of it, I got to be very careful. A physician friend I know and their spouse saw the change in me.
Hmm.
I told them about it. They thought it was bull crap because they're just programmed with medical
Yeah,
science.
yeah, yeah, right.
They tried it. Now they both smoke cigars as well, and they got off
Mhm.
their damn pharmaceuticals at night to help them sleep.
Dude, this is
So
like
so I can't
crazy,
tell you,
man.
I can't talk for everybody. And people are like, Dave, what's wrong with you? But listen, I'm just telling you the truth. This is what I believe. I could be wrong. Either I'm right and you're wrong, either you're right and I'm wrong, or we're both wrong and God's right. But we need to
Now, see,
search for the truth.
here's the thing with this though. Like, this blows my mind because, like, now the way my life works is like I put my intentions out there, and I'm just drawn towards things, right? So the other day, my wife and I were out riding around, and I was like, I don't know why, but like I've been having like this desire recently to smoke cigars.
There you go.
And she
It,
was like, what? I was like, I know, it's the weirdest thing. I was like, did you know a cigar store here in town? She was like, yeah. But I was like, I don't know why. Just like, I don't want to start smoking again, but like, I'm just drawn towards cigars. And then to have you tell me that, I was like, oh my God, that's crazy, man.
yeah, we gotta schedule a 30 or 45-day follow-up, and we gotta talk about bananas and we'll name that the episode.
Yeah.
Bo and Dave, bananas and cigars.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And we'll
I'm going to the supermarket to get my bananas, and then I'm gonna go find that cigar store today, and
yeah,
I'm good at both.
and get something. And that's the thing about cigars. You can get something that's inexpensive, but it's still pure. The key is just buying pure tobacco. Don't buy the
Yeah,
cheap
yeah,
ones that's colored paper and they put
yeah,
chemicals in
yeah,
those too.
yeah.
Get a nice cigar. You can buy them online, save a bunch of money once you find something you like, but
Hmm.
get something mild because you're starting out, not more than medium. And then
Hmm.
you'll start figuring out what you like and what you don't like. But last thought, globally, if you ask anybody what are the best cigars in the world, what's everybody say?
Cuba.
Okay, Cuban. You know why? I researched and researched and researched it. It's because Cuba has the highest volume of lithium in their soil. So what's lithium used
Oh,
for?
lithium helps sleep, right?
Depression, sleep. They used to prescribe lithium. So the soil content in Cuba has the highest lithium on the planet. So when you smoke a
Oh,
cigar, that's why it feels so good. Now you can
right.
still get a Cuban cigar and you don't like the flavor, but the actual soil is absorbed into the tobacco leaves, so you have a more beneficial response.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's the thing. If you always want to know what makes Cuban cigars special, yeah, there's tons of things. But bottom line is the lithium content in the soil. And you have people, even famous preachers like Charles Spurgeon, he
Uh,
suffered with depression. I've suffered with depression my whole life. And he said, one of the greatest gifts of God to me is a good cigar, because when I'm feeling down, I smoke it and it just helps me to relax. So people have been trained in America. I don't want to speak for the rest of the world, like tobacco evil, tobacco evil, tobacco evil.
mm,
But think of
mm,
it like this. weed was terrible growing up for our generation. And I believe weed is a gateway drug, right? But there are some medicinal benefits. But the government said weed evil, weed evil, weed evil for years. Once they could monetize and control the supply, now weed's the wonder drug. Everybody should have weed. You'll cut your arm off, no problem. Smoke a joint, it'll grow back. Just buy it from our dispensary, right? So listen, try a banana if you're listening to me all over the world. Try a cigar, maybe. Pray about that one, but it really did work for me. And let me know how it goes. Write some notes in the show notes in the comment section. And Bo, me and you need to do a follow-up in 45 days, 30 days.
I'm doing it. I'm down with that, man. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, man. So thanks for being on the show, ladies and gentlemen. We love you. Hope you enjoyed this episode, not just for entertainment value, but for things you can apply to your life. Reach out to Bo for myself for help. And if you do decide to smoke a stogie or to eat a banana, let us know how it works out. We love you. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next episode. Ciao. And thanks again, Bo.
Thanks so much, Dave. I really appreciate it, man. This has been awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's just been a few short seconds, but to Bo and I, it's been 30 days. So at the end of Bo's remarkable episode, we talked to you about the Bo Bissett bonus episode, Cigars and Bananas. So right now, Bo and I are going to be hanging out and just talking about his journey the last 30 days about bananas and cigars. Bo, how are you today, brother?
I'm great, man. How are you today?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We had a great episode. We had a great episode, and our listeners just funneled right into it. They don't know what's going on in the last 30 days of our life or your life. But when we finished the episode, we were talking about how sleeping helped me by eating a banana before bed, and cigars helped me before bed. And you said you're going to be a human guinea pig and try it. So
I did.
How did it work for you, brother?
Well, I've done it for the last 30 days, and I will continue doing it for the foreseeable future. The bananas, I'm feel pretty sure that the bananas had a definitive impact on my sleep, and not just my sleep, but it was like my dreams. Like my dreams, man. As soon as I was at half a banana, right? So I was eating half a banana.
I do a half a banana, but if they're small, I'll hold one.
Yeah. So I've been doing a half one too. And so man, my dreams just exploded because I guess beforehand, maybe that's why I was so tired all the time. Cause like REM sleep is like, that's when you dream, right? And that's your restorative sleep, right?
Yeah. The REM phase. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't ever remember dreaming for like such a long time. And then boom, man. So like the first night I took that banana, I woke up the next morning. I was like, dude, I was flying last night. Like, it was amazing. And yeah, it just kept going. And the cigars, I think, like, as far as sleep, I'm not sure, but I tell you, like, the cigars have been like a beautiful nighttime routine. And I've never, you really got me to appreciate, cigars and like the natural form of tobacco without, all the nasty crap that the cigarette companies put in it, right?
Yep.
And it's just the way they wrap it, the tobacco, like, the craftsmanship that goes into making it. And like when you're smoking a cigar, you sit there and like, you just, I've never been somebody like, if I drink a beer, like I drink a beer. Like I don't sit around and like, swirl it around in a glass and sniff it and like trying to figure out what kind of floral scents it's got and stuff like that. Same thing with wine or anything else. Like if I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm thirsty, I drink. But with the cigar, it was really a big, it changed my perception, changed the way I appreciate things. And in a very short time. And so, yeah, it was actually, it was picking out the cigar, like smelling the cigar, cutting the cigar, like putting it in my mouth before I lit it. And then, my wife was she was down with it too, right? So we both got into it, and like it became like it has become our nighttime routine. And we both get out there and we're like, we light it up and we smell it and we toke on it, and just like the smoke, and like we talk about it and like, oh, this is a good one, this one, it feels like it's tastes like. And it's just, it's a beautiful nighttime routine, man. Every kind of, we had also gotten into a phase recently. I haven't owned a TV in ages, man. Like when she and I moved in together, she had a TV, and even then we didn't watch it. But like, I guess this summer we were watching a lot of Netflix, and the last month, like we got off of that, which is nice because
Nice.
I'm not a big TV person, but I mean, some of the shows, you get in those series and they're a little bit like they'll pull you in, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can spend the rest of your life watching television and actors
Mm,
pretend to live. So
mm,
you're at home watching it, they're pretending, and nobody's living life. It's like
mm-hmm.
today's generation of the movie Wall-E, right? Um,
Yeah.
but man, I'm so glad to hear that. So, ladies and gentlemen listening, Bo and I are not doctors. We are not
Mm,
playing doctors on TV, right?
mm,
We are just telling you our experiences with bananas and with cigars. And Bo,
mm-hmm.
man, yeah, I'm just going to go through it. The bananas, same thing for me. I sleep better. My body wakes up more rested. The dreams are more vivid. And medical professionals don't tell you about it because they can't sell you pharmaceuticals and you don't come back for more, right?
They
So
gonna make any money selling you a banana,
yeah.
right?
And Chiquita, what the heck, man? You've done a crappy job marketing. You got a whole
I
marketing
know.
campaign right here.
I know, that's huge. Remember when we were kids and it was like, milk does a body good, and then like, milk comes from a cow which has 5 stomachs, so it's like it's actually not that healthy for us. But like, dude, you're right, man. Chiquita needs to get on the whole marketing thing and like
Yeah,
totally jump on that.
you got these products that really don't help, and it is complete BS, and they sell it to you and you believe it. And there's other things that God made, like a banana. Grab one right here if you're watching
There
on
you go.
YouTube, right? Two
There you
bananas.
go.
So this is to me a small banana. So, it fits in my hand. So
Okay.
I'll eat probably one of those at night, or if it's a big one, I'll eat, half of one.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Try it. Give it 7 days. Don't even give it 30 days. Unless you're
Mm-hmm.
allergic to it, it's helped Bo and I. So at least 2 for 2 right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the
I would say,
cigar.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no. Go. Finish the
I would,
bananas.
yeah, I was just saying, like, when it's not you're not gonna sleep. Well, here's the thing. I slept good. Like, I used to sleep like one night out of 4 nights, and the one night I slept was kind of like, it was still kind of crappy. I've gone sleeping 3 nights out of 4 nights, so good. So it's not the end all be all, but like, from to flip from one, like I flip from one extreme to the other. So it's been really, really nice. So, and the thing is, like, when the nights that I'm not sleeping, I'm actually like, man, I went to bed a little bit too late, or I drank a glass of tea too late or something like that, right? So it's there are the ones that I could count on, like, or the dog woke me up at like 4 o'clock in the morning barking. So, but I would say they definitely have changed my sleeping. No, no doubt.
Yeah, 37 cents, man, or whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. Could be 2 cents, could be $3, but still, it's so inexpensive and it's so
Yeah, it really
natural. It's good
is.
for you. And then now, when it comes to cigars, again, some people smoke a cigar before bed and they're wired. Me,
Hmm.
it totally chills me out. But like you were talking about, Bo, you slow down and you appreciate it and you shut off the TV and you and your wife are sitting there talking,
Hmm.
engaging in communication and laughing and looking at the stars. I was just out this week and over the weekend, and we were at a place, and those times you get like antsy. It's like, okay, I'm enjoying the live music, but I'm ready to go. Well, when you got a cigar in your hand, it just kind of slows you down, and you take more time and you appreciate things. So I'm not
Hmm.
telling people to smoke and I hope to God, they don't get sick, I don't get sick. But man, I just, from natural tobacco, vaping, terrible.
Hmm.
Cigarettes, terrible. Dipping,
Mm.
terrible.
I
But
agree.
actual cigars,
Mm.
and I just can't see a problem with them. So God forgive me if I'm saying anything against you or leading people down the wrong path for health reasons, but it's brought nothing but benefit to my life. And it sounds like it's brought some benefit to your life. And I know friends some are physicians, and they started smoking after they saw the results I had, and they had the same results or better.
That's
So
awesome.
it's just like, it's one of those things that don't knock it till you try it, right?
I agree. I agree.
Charles Spurgeon has suffered with depression. I struggle with depression the last few years, and he said the best thing gift from God he's ever had is a good cigar, because it just
Nice.
really helps. So that's
That's
it, Bo,
awesome.
man. On your journey the last month, me and you could talk all day, but
Mhm.
for the listeners, any other parting advice, any other thoughts, or anything else about the cigars, about the bananas, or any other life tips before we take off?
Yeah, I think the thing is, one more thing on the cigars is that, like, because this weekend it was on us. Like, I just saved it. I saved the cigars for the night, but then it was a weekend, this Saturday, I believe, and my wife and I having a good time, and we were down at the beach, and then we came back up, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna get my cigar, right?" And I was like, "You know what? I'll just fire it up and, like, smoke it on the way down, right?" So we got a little scooter that we drive up and down to the beach on, right? And I was like, "I'll just smoke it on the scooter, right?" And you know, so I did that, and then I was smoking, I was like, on the scooter, and, like, it was just, it took away from my enjoyment of it, and, like, I think that's what I've gotten out of the whole experience the most is, like really, like, not trying to fit everything in, and I was like, because the cigar has become my nighttime thing, and it's like, and it really forces me just to focus on that one thing, right? And as I was going down the mountain back down to the beach, and I was smoking a cigar, I was like smoking, I was driving, and I was like, worried because my wife behind me, I was worried about, like, blowing smoke in her face, and like the experience wasn't even the same. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that again.
Yep.
So yeah, it was just like, it really reframed my perspective on things in such a short period of time. So
Yeah, man, I'm glad you had that experience. And for the listeners who are thinking about it or might want to try it, it's not something like a cigarette is terrible for you. I want to keep saying that it's poison, it's toxin. The only thing worse than cigarettes is vaping. Vaping is just insane. You're vaporizing toxic chemicals to put in your lungs. Cigars, you never bring them past your mouth, okay? But what you're describing, I've had the same experience. If you're trying to work or, build a fence, or you're trying to drive somewhere, it's not like a cigarette. It's not to have a habit. It's not to to have an addiction to it. Cigars are relax and chill. And personally, because I never want to be addicted to anything, I will not smoke when I'm angry. I will not smoke when I'm, like, mega stressed, because I don't want anything in life to be a crunch. I just want things to be enjoyable. So I'm tracking with you, riding the scooter, thinking about traffic. Oh my, you don't want to be rude to your wife and blow smoke in her face. I can totally see how that does that. But if you and her are sitting down at night and you're watching the stars and you're talking, it's just a great compliment to whatever you're doing then. And I think that's the
it
experience
really
you've
was.
had, right?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, man. Well, that's it, Bo. Once again, it's been a
Thanks,
true
David.
pleasure. We
Yeah,
love
man,
you,
good to talk
brother.
to you again.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. And ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to Bo's channel and my channel on YouTube, like this podcast, and not just so we can get famous, but so we can reach more people. Share this. If we can help you, please let us know. And if you have an experience with a banana or a cigar, not the Bill Clinton kind, but the actual using it for your health, let us know how it turns out, and we wish you only the best. So I'm Dave Pasqualone. This is Bo Bissett. Bo, thanks again, brother.
Thanks, David.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Ciao.
The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat. For life.